Ladies and gentlemen, kings and queen, we're back with another video. It's your guy, your average chess guy, and we're here for another video. I've been kind of MIA a little bit. I was kind of under the weather this whole week. So I'm back with another video. And today I want to do another opening video. I've seen that the opening videos have done pretty well, and this is a chance to help others learn, as well as this is my chance of learning as well. I am learning openings. I don't know a lot of openings. I have ideas of a lot, but I haven't really studied much opening, so I'm just expanding, just like how you guys want to expand in your opening repertoire. Well, so today we want to talk about the Slav Defense. It's an opening for black, and we might go into a little bit of the semi-Slav because it's essentially the same thing, kind of like just a different line. But let's get into it. Alright, so playing as black, the Slav Defense starts off when your opponent plays d4. Now, the Slav Defense is kind of similar to the Caro-Kann because it technically has the c6 and c5 idea. This is the exact same move that you're going to be playing essentially. But so I guess like if you're a Caro-Kann player, a nice trick you could do. I'm not sure how well it works, but you can technically play like c6, and then after c6, most players, most of the time, will play e4 because of the theory of controlling the center of the board. So when they play e4, essentially you then force them into a Caro-Kann, and then you play d5. And then if you're really good at the Caro-Kann, like I played a Caro-Kann, for example, for black, you kind of played them into what you know. They might end up playing the advanced variation. You might bring out the bishop. If not, you might play c5, and then you go into the Caro-Kann. I made a video on the Caro-Kann. I think that was the last video I made, I think. Well, you can check that out. But that's a good trick, and I think this move is played... c6 is played the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th, the eighth frequent move from the top. So, only about 2,000 games is played there compared to most people would play knight f6 and other But anyways, so they play d4. The next move to start off with the Slav, you play d5, and then most people would then play the Queen's Gambit with c4, and there's other openings going into the Queen's Gambit. You can take, which is the Queen's Gambit accepted, or you can play e6, which is the Queen's Gambit declined. That means you don't accept it. But today, we're not going to do none of those. We're going to play c6, looking like a Caro-Kann. And instead, it's called the Slav Defense because they didn't play e4. They played d4 and c4. And this is the Slav Defense, essentially. And the main line here is when, after you play this, they would play knight f3. You play knight f6. And then they play knight c3, sorry. And then this is kind of like the main line setup. You can't develop this here. The most frequent move here would be to go into the semi-Slav, which is e6. So the reason why they call it semi because you didn't get to develop this, I guess, bishop on c8. Because what it does is it kind of like blocks in your light square bishop. But then, in a way, because all your pawns is on light squares as well, you kind of made this light square bishop weak anyways. So maybe keeping it there for later, I don't know. But it is still bad because you want to develop your pieces. But the pro about it is that you have all your pawns on light squares, which kind of create this like stonewall defense type of thing, where they connect through the center and protect each other, which is pretty good. If you don't play e6, then it would be the next best move would be bishop to, I guess, either f5, or you'll play bishop to g4, which one is more, bishop to f5 is more popular. So, most people play that one. You can play g4, whichever one. The idea is to just bring the bishop out so it's not trapped, and you can be able to develop your piece / utilize it in the game for later, or whatever the case is. But pretty much, if you're playing the Slav defense, you want to bring out the bishop, and then if you can, you play e6 after. In this situation, if you do play bishop f5, most popular people play e3, connecting the center and opening up the bishop here. And then you play the e6, completing the, the Slav defense essentially. So pretty much this is kind of like the semi-Slav, except you get the bishop out to f5. So that's pretty good. So, and then for the most part, after that, they will play knight h4. And the idea here is to attack your bishop, and then you do bishop g6. And in most cases, they would take, and then you would take with the h, because what happens here when you take with the with h to g6, you open up the rook here, and the rook comes in early in the game. For the most part, the rooks stay in the corner most of chess games until either the end game or like in kind of like sometimes in the middle game. But to have it out open now, especially if he happens to develop the bishop and castle king side, you can then create some attacks on the king side. But on White's part, it's pretty nice, because him trading the bishop, he wins the bishop pair, which is the bishop pair is just better than a bishop and knight pair, especially in the end game. They control a lot of they're like snipers that control a lot of long range, that has long range attacks essentially. Because the weakness of the bishop, it only attacks on the square it's on, light or dark. When you have both, it attacks all squares, and it's like twins that can just be deadly together essentially. So yeah, after you take, and what's next? What's more popular here? Bishop, bishop d2, probably this side. Excuse me. And then you do knight to d2. And in a way, when you think about it, your opening, if you do the Slav defense, like how you do this, that. Well, let's say he doesn't do that. Let's say he does this to kind of develop his pieces. You can then do something like this, or you can just go to d6. He castles, you go d7, develop, let's just say, and then you castle, and then in a way your setup kind of looks like a London, except for the black pieces, So this is exactly almost like a London setup, and then I guess you'll just bring this out here if anything, and go from there. But that's pretty much the basic ideas of the Slav defense. Yeah, pretty much the basic ideas of Slav defense. Let's explore, because I don't even know myself. Let's explore what happens when they take. And so let's say c to d5 happens. That's the third best move after the Slav defense setup. They take, which is called the exchange variation. Then you take the most, popular next is most people, they take back. Excuse me. They take back, and then the next popular is knight c3, and then you would do knight f6, protecting the d5 because they're attacking the d5. And then they're probably gonna do knight f3, kind of going into the same setup, knight c6. So pretty much going into a 4-knight Slav defense variation kind of thing. But this is the exchange variation that would normally happen, and then they go bishop f4, bishop f4, then you go bishop f5. Almost like this is the symmetrical line, and I can see why, because it's literally identical right here. The whole board is identical right now. And then e3 happens over here, and e6. Everything is is essentially the symmetrical line. And what happens next? Next most popular is bishop d3, developing, and then you play bishop captures, and then queen captures. And yeah, so that's kind of like the Slav Defense symmetrical line. Just kind of like opening up what could possibly happen in the position. So yeah, for the most part, yeah, this happens. They're gonna play this. And if they don't play that and they somehow play this for whatever reason, which is most likely not gonna happen, that's like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th best move, and only plays 750 times versus c4 and knight f3. Yeah, so we went through the Slav, which is this, and we went through the Slav where they'll do this essentially, right? And then if you're doing the Slav, you come out here or here. Coming out here is fine. And then they do e3, you do e6, and then they go into the variation of trying to get your bishop. Most of the time, you back up, they take, you take, and then it kind of gets lower and lower from there. You just got to decide what you want to do from there. So we learned the Slav Defense. We also learned the semi-Slav, where you go here, then they'll do e3, you do knight to d7, they do queen c2, then you'll do bishop d6, just kind of developing essentially, kind of almost like a London, except the bishop here is not here. And then after that they go bishop d3. You know, everyone's just developing, and then you castle, and then they castle. And then, you know, at this point, you know, it goes from here. Let's see, they castle, and then here they say the next best move is to capture, d to c4 capture, and then it just goes to literally just 2 games after this that's been played from the master games that I have on chess.com, and then bishop to c4, and then it just opens up more. And then from here, you know, you just have to explore as well for yourself to really know. The more you know a variation, you know, or an opening, or variations, or sidelines, or main lines of an opening that you're using, the better advantage you have for winning against an opponent, knowing all the best moves, right? So that's one, you know. Then we went through the exchange variation, where they take, you take, and it's pretty much the 4 knights, you know, whatever. Maybe the order was like more like this, because it makes more sense. Just protecting that, comes out. Excuse me. And then oh, I just went, sorry, f4, and this is the symmetrical line, where they play everything the same. Everything the same. Oh, sorry. Everything the same. Oh, sorry. Oops. Take. Boom. It's just a symmetrical line. So now question, just to kind of like, you know, think something that would most likely happen. Like, what if they play, you know, d4, you play d5, and they don't play c4. c4 is the next best move, is the best move after d4, d5. What if they play knight f3? And they might play knight f3. And this is where, like, you know, if you learn the Slav Defense, you know, this is kind of going into another opening, which is the queen's pawn opening. Zekkertort variation. I don't even know. I don't really know the name of that if I'm pronouncing it right. But essentially, if they do this, which is the second best move after d4, d5, this is where you have to expand your repertoire of knowing what to do in this situation by then, looking it up like we're doing right now. So the next move here would be knight f6. We'll do knight f6. And then next popular move here will be c4. So they play c4. You see that is going right into the symmetrical line. C6, and c3. So it's going right into the symmetrical line. Oh, so this is the Slav Defense. It goes right back into the Slav Defense. It's just as you can see how sometimes moves transpose into the same variations a lot. So right here we went right back into the Slav Defense. The only difference is they played knight f3. Then we played that back, and it kind of went into the symmetrical line. But then when you play c6, it goes right into the Slav Defense, which is very interesting. Let's go to the next move. So we went through c4 is the first move that most people would play. Then knight f3 will be the second best move people would play. And so it went from the first move, 191,000 or 192,000 games. Everyone plays this. And then from that, almost half of that, less than half of that, plays knight f3. So you're most likely going to see c4 more than knight f3, excuse me. Then the next popular move, from 78,000 games, the next popular move, bishop f4, is literally played 7,000 times. So you see how less and less it is played? So most likely you're not going to see much of this. But you would see this a lot, though. The top three move, like if someone plays this, so they're saying that you would see this first, then you might see this second, and then you're going to see bishop f4 third. But this is very popular. You probably would see this a lot because this is normally the beginning of the London system, where they, you start playing. I don't know. Let's say you play this, then they'll go into the whole London system thing. So let's go into the fourth best. The fourth best goes from 7,000 from the third bishop f4 to bishop g5, which is the fourth best. So they might play bishop g5. But I don't think that's really much of a good move, right? Because you're just gonna kick it out. I rarely see this in my games, and you're not gonna see this in your games at all because it kind of makes no sense. You just play a bishop to then get it moved out, and then you might even say play it again, and it's just like you're just wasting moves and helping your opponent develop and stuff. So that is a move. That's like the fourth best move, but most people is probably not playing that. But you're definitely going to get the top two the most. Well, the top three for sure, because this is the London system. Then you're going to get c4, or you're going to get knight f3. So yeah, so that's pretty much the Slav Defense in a nutshell. And I recommend going into the database and explore and look at different variation, different lines, and just see what else you can do. And learn different sidelines, and then start playing games, because people's going to do moves that you've never seen before. And most of the times, the move that they do is probably not the best move, and could be either punished or not. And even if you don't know when you're playing in the game, just make sure you go back and analyze your game to see where you went wrong, and see if their move that they did within a variation that you've never seen before is even good. And there's a chance you probably could punish it and just automatically like get an advantage to win the game. Or maybe it's a good move, and you'll know what to do next when you see it again. It's all about repetition, trial and error, practice, and just make sure you study and memorize, and study well. All right, well, this is the video. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. I'll see you in the next one.